Hey loves, welcome back to TigeraGitana. My name is Abby and today we're going to be following up on the Trump impeachment spell that we did a couple of weeks ago. If you watched the Donald Trump impeachment spell on my YouTube, then you would have known what the components were, what we were trying to bring forth, which way we were going to be targeting this impeachment to move forward. And I feel like it has been developing quite nicely, to be honest. It's definitely moving really quickly. So within this video, I'm going to try to keep it short because I'm not trying to keep it super long. But we're going to go through Donald Trump, some of his Astro transits that he has going on for the next couple of months. Just to talk about the energy, and I also pulled some cards because I wanted to just throwing some cards to see how the spell has been developing since we did it as well. So we're gonna go over that. But I definitely have to say I feel like it's been developing quite nicely, especially with the petition that was done. Because if you remember, I put resign, I put betrayal, I put different ways that these people were gonna start kind of falling out of his cabinet, and it has been coming to pass as such, which I'm not mad about, especially with the betrayal part, because I feel like some people have been just talking out their ass and just getting in trouble with the situation and just bringing more complexity and more proof and evidence into the situation. And the way it's really looking is just kind of like I said in that video, he's either gonna resign or he's gonna let himself get impeached. It's gonna be one of the two. Regardless, justice is gonna be at the end of it. We're gonna start by talking about his, well, should I start with the well, let me actually show you how the candle burned first, just because I want to show you guys. And I know I said you're supposed to dispose of it at the courthouse, and I'm going to do that, but I wanted to show you guys how it actually finished burning. So I'm going to put it where you can kind of see the background. You see how it's a little bit gray at the top, and then it cleared up very nicely at the bottom. It's very clear here, like about here it was just like a little bit gray, and then it just clears up so nicely there. So it actually worked really well. The protection one that I did was disposed of properly. This one is going to go to the courthouse, but it's going to be in my monthly empties for this month, just so you know. However, it's still working very nicely, especially with the hot foot powder that we made, because that was one of the other power punches. This was done to assist. So it definitely burned really well and has been working really quickly. If you notice, this whole case has been developing so fast. Every single day something new comes out. Every single day some other person is finding evidence, some person is resigning, some person is Giuliani speaking out his butt cheeks. It's just every day every day is something new. And so this case is just more evidence for them to just be like, hey. And right now what's getting worked on is really on the Republican side, as far as like them actually growing a pair and actually coming to terms with the fact that they're gonna have to remove him from office once the House impeaches him, because it was never a question about, oh, is the House gonna impeach him? They're gonna impeach him, but the Senate has to do what they need to do. So Republicans need to get it together. So as time goes on and as Trump does more stupid things, because that's just what he does, he's just getting wrecked by society, by the government, by his peers, by his coworkers, and it's just been crazy. So that's how the candle burned. So I feel really good about the spell itself. I feel like, especially with the reading, I definitely feel like a spirit is on our side for this one. As far as impeaching him goes, we're definitely getting a lot of spiritual assistance on that end. I feel like collectively it's just time to kind of end that. But before we go into the cards, I kind of wanted to go over a couple of transits that he's having for the next 2 months. I looked at the ending of November and the ending of December specifically, just because we're at the end of October, so it kind of made no sense to kind of look into those specifically. I still looked at it, but I mean, he has a ton of squares happening throughout like the month, like a ton of squares, especially in December. Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, like it's just a ton of squares. But what I've known this for a while, because this is actually my first time looking at Donald Trump's actual natal chart, and then looking at his transits. I hadn't looked at it for the past couple years because I did not care for the man. Okay, I did not care. I knew he had some Leo energy, and it's really frustrating because he's a Leo rising. He ain't even cute, whatever. I'm a Leo rising too, but I take no responsibility for that. Okay, and I knew like he had some fire in him. I knew that's why he's always lashing out. I knew that's why his ego's always like in the forefront. That's that toxic, when we're talking about astrology, when we're talking about the spectrum of the signs, that's that toxic Leo ego energy and being in the ascendant, that is just like, okay, this person is egotistical, they're very sensitive, they have a very wounded ego. That's what it looks like is Donald Trump. It's the best example of a Leo toxic rising person, and how they show up in the world. But his chart is very much, it's really interesting because when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, okay, so I can see why he ended up becoming president, because he has a lot of 10th house energy, and also his North Node is in the 10th house. And I was like, so, and it's in Gemini. His North Node is in Gemini in the 10th house, which is literally what he's been doing this whole time. So as far as like fulfilling your destiny and doing what you need to be doing in this lifetime, yeah, he became president, he became someone of power, he used his voice and used that tool of communication that he is born with as a Gemini to elevate himself in his career and his social status in the government, because the 10th houses are all things that is ruled by that house. It's very Capricornian energy, which means that he has a lot of Saturnian energy undertoning his chart. And when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, well, I'm not really surprised that he became president. However, the way his chart is set up, it's like this lifetime for him is actually a huge traumatic event for him, because he's the amount of karma he's gonna have to pay in the next lifetimes to come just from this one alone, because there's like blood on his hands. There's like so much stuff that he's done that is just bad for society itself. Like, it's just, because you have to understand that 10th house is also the house of traditions. That's very much a Capricorn ruled space. We're very much about creating traditions for the collective. Once you get past, you know, like 10th, 11th, like those are collective houses. So it's kind of really complicated when it comes to his chart, because it's like, you were supposed to be better than this, but because he's not an elevated person, he's working from the lower vibration of each sign, the lower part of the spectrum of each of his placements. He's a very egotistical person. He's definitely into the aesthetics. Jupiter in Libra is very much into the aesthetics of the beauty of wanting things and having luxury and all of these things that he's gotten to accumulate over the years, even though he went bankrupt a bunch of times and all of these different things. But his need for luxury, his kind of higher ends mentality, the way he speaks of people who don't have as much as he has accumulated, or as much as he has, like the way, like one of the quotes that he said was so irritating to me, was always like, I love the highly what was it? I know he said, I love the poorly educated and the highly educated, and he's like, I love the poorly educated too. It's like stuff like that he says, that's the stuff that I'm talking about. So his chart is very much of someone who was supposed to be very much present, very sociable, definitely somebody that would go to parties, hang out, have a lot of connections, use their connections, but lots of 10th house energy, which means that this is Saturn energy you're playing with. And for a long time, before I even looked at his chart, I've known for a while, especially when Saturn went into Capricorn, that he was gonna get wrecked by Saturn. Like, I just knew that. I was like, Saturn is just gonna wreck this dude. Just the way he was behaving, it was almost like a undisciplined child. The way undisciplined child just behaves outside in social means, that's how he behaves. So I just like, Saturn energy is like the opposite of that. It's like grow up immediately. So I had a feeling, I was like, he's gonna get wrecked by Saturn. Oh my god, he's gonna get so wrecked. And when Saturn went into Capricorn, I'm like, okay, seeing things develop. And because Saturn in Capricorn, it emphasizes the energy of government, and social status and career. I knew that was going to be highlighted for him. So I wasn't really surprised to see that his transits for the next couple of months is him literally getting torn by not only Saturn, but also Pluto. They're coming to play. They're coming to bat. They're just like, today we got time. Okay, we got time to handle this. Okay, so for November, I'm only literally looking at 2 specific aspects because I wasn't trying to make this video super long, but these are like 2 aspects that I saw and I was just like, ooh. Okay, and the first one in the short term, he has Jupiter in a strong trine with his natal ascendant, which is a Leo rising. He's a Leo rising. And what this means is that with Jupiter specifically trining, it's like he has a lot of energy and emphasis. Specifically, by the end of November, it's going to be carried over where everybody's going to be focused on him. Which, by the way, yes, it could seem that everybody's been focusing on him for like years now, but it's going to be emphasized. Like Jupiter is like, okay, well, it is magnetized now. Like everybody's watching everything you say, everything you move, because at this point in time, you are in a place, especially because he has Jupiter in Libra, which is the energy of justice at the end of the day. There is a level of, we're watching you because you're going to keep making wrong moves and we're just going to collect receipts until we take you out, okay, and return you for another shirt. That's what we're doing. So with that being in place with his Jupiter trying his ascendant, and having like kind of everybody focusing on him, there's also a lot of restriction because in the long term he has Saturn strong square natal Jupiter, which is like, as he's still the focus of so many things, he's also very restricted. He has a lot of like really low optimism, a very kind of the way people are looking at him is not the way he would prefer to be looked by others. He's feeling stuck in the mud. On the internal level, there's a restriction of positivity, of enjoyment, all the things that Jupiter brings, all that luck, all the opportunity, the expansion. Even though he's having it in a way where it's just like, yeah, all eyes on me, Saturn is like, it's not gonna be lucky though. You're not gonna be abundant though. No, we're taking all the positivity that Jupiter could give you, all the gifts, all the blessings that Jupiter can give you, and instead what we're going to do is magnetize you, and make you kind of like the focus of this entire case. So it's literally going to be like pressure. It's going to feel like, even though it's, you know, when they say like, oh, I always hate it when people say this, like bad press is like good press. That's not actually true. It's not always good press. And this is a huge example of how like negative press is not like positive, because for him, this is something that can completely change his life. He can definitely end up serving time, especially after when he gets impeached, because it's gonna happen. He's either gonna resign or he's gonna get impeached. When it happens and when it goes down, afterwards, New York is gonna hit him with that boom. It's gonna serve him. So there's already cases piled against him that can take him down. It's almost like he has pressure from so many different angles, from so many different sides, that at this point it's just like, it's overwhelming internally. Other people are not gonna fully be able to see that because Saturn is gonna be wrecking him internally, unless he actually takes upon himself with the Jupiter highlighting his ascendant. Unless he actually takes it upon himself, as he always does, to kind of reveal all his dirty laundry on Twitter, because that's what he always does. So he's going to be really continuously frustrated. He's going to say a lot of stupid okay? He's going to be very kind of aggressive, very frustrated, very like kind of like a very whiny child, as he always tends to be. But specifically, November is going to be, it's like you have all eyes on you, and it's like, oh my god, it's like kind of like almost a star complex, but in the worst sense, where everybody is just like. And then Saturn, the role Saturn is playing in this is just like, there's only so much so much good that he can take. And because Trump hasn't necessarily been the most positive person, he cannot benefit from the positivity of Jupiter, so there's a restriction there. So he's gonna be feeling very stuck in the mud, very like he doesn't know what to do, how to get out of it. He might try to be slick, but it might not work, because again, Saturn is just like not gonna let you get away with it at this point. It's just a lot of Saturn energy playing throughout the next few months for him, and quite frankly for the rest of the next year as well. So coming into December, I was looking mainly at his longer term, because I wanted to see how the energy was gonna play out from where we are now into next month, and then into December. So I wanted to see how all of that kind of built up. And he has so many squares in December. It's just like, it's just a lot of conflict. His conflict is fighting. Its conflict is like people saying the wrong things. It's people continuing to betray him, or like him getting signs, or him being afraid that some people are going to be against him, especially in his own party. I definitely see that. There's just a lot of conflict, and that also came up in the cards, so I'm not really surprised. But there's a lot of conflict going on. There's a lot of squares. There's a lot of fighting. I don't think his family's gonna know what to do, to be honest. I feel like they're all trying to find a solution to this whole madness, but it's just not. The solution is that he gotta go. So, so that's kind of the way it's been playing out currently, and it's just like, hey, bye. Okay, thank you, next. Like, it's a very much trying to. It's almost like if he had the opportunity, I feel like, even though his ego is so blown out, to leave, like if somebody would offer him, hey, we won't impeach you if you resign, and we won't press any charges, New York won't press any charges, we'll let you be, he'll actually take it. I feel like he would take it in a heartbeat, because everything that's been going on is just really overwhelming for him right now. That's how it seems like. So for his longer term, in his aspects for December, he has Pluto strong trine midheaven. Okay, and I was just like, oh my god, this Saturnian energy, especially with Pluto there, it's just wrecked. It's like, okay, this is changing right now. This is you're gonna see a lot of like hidden secrets coming to light, especially around December as things develop. I know that the House wants to go and proceed through impeachment process. I believe they want to be done with it before Thanksgiving, because that's the schedule they set for interviewing people and everything like that. But when it goes to the Senate, as far as him getting removed, it's gonna take a little bit of time as well. So it's just like an anxiety. There's a of kind of like fighting authority with this placement with Pluto in the midheaven. It's just like he's not gonna want to budge. He's just gonna be very frustrated. It's gonna be going to some mentally dark places, to be honest with you. And I feel like Trump is gonna be weak enough to do something stupid. But he's already been doing a lot of things that are stupid. But I just feel like something's gonna happen where he's gonna actually do something really, really out of, like, no, why would anybody do such a thing? Like, stuff like that. Like, I feel like with Pluto having such a strong presence is in his 10th house, which is the house that he's literally, is the destiny house for him, is the one that he's actually supposed to be living his life through and accomplishing and achieving and making a name for himself. With Pluto there is like, sorry, this is turning into something a lot darker, and it's definitely going to affect him in the next lifetime. All the trauma, all the emotion that he takes in within this next couple of months, all the anxiety is going to be put on his next lifetime, because he's obviously not going to know how to heal this shit. So that's where we're at. So he's going to be in a place where it's almost like writing the Akashic records of Donald Trump. And it's just like, and on this month, this is what, like, it's just a really dark placement for him for December. It's like, I feel like he's going to be very much still seeking for instant gratification from everybody else, but very much depressed internally, very much feeling like, even though he wants to shine, especially with that Leo rising energy, that some aspect of him has to be in the dark, and he's just looked at in a different way. And I feel like he's going to see a lot of people turning on him throughout the next couple of months. Now, the other placement that I want to talk to you guys about is Pluto strong opposition to natal Saturn, which, again, we talked about Saturn being a wrecking point for him. This is going to be him feeling very threatened. His sense of self is going to be very threatened. He's going to have issues letting go during this time, and this might be the time where he actually needs to process that he gotta go. He might use this specific time, because again, by the end of the year, like I literally just I looked at the end of the year through December, he's gonna feel like I have to he's like, he might not let it go out of ego, but it's the energy of letting go with Pluto there, Pluto in his midhaven and Pluto in natal Saturn. It's like Saturn energy is highlighted, death is highlighted, transformation is highlighted, karma, trauma is highlighted. He's gonna be going through a lot of stuff. I don't think he's ever gonna be able to this is gonna be the highlight of who he is. Historically, this is gonna be he's always going to be known as the shithead president of the United States that we had in 2000. Like, it's just, he's going to have this reputation. He's going to have to come to terms with, I don't know if he's ever going to come to terms with it properly, but he's definitely going to feel like there's just no way. There's nothing that can be done to change what has come to pass. Like, it just feels like with Saturn there, it's just like, no, this is written in your records. This is something that, this change that's happening, if you don't allow it to happen, it will be a trauma for him. So it's a very kind of like emotional time, and it's also a very like frustrating time, because he's gonna be feeling the like intense amount of restriction from Saturn itself, and his moon is in Sagittarius. God knows Sagittarius don't like to have no restrictions in their damn lives. So it's gonna emotionally be really frustrating for him, because it's gonna be like he's so tightly wounded up. So a lot of stuff is gonna happen. I feel like he's going to kind of pop a little bubble. I feel like he's going to really feel like he's kind of lost himself. Like, the perception of other people as far as on him is just gonna be a lot different. It's just highlighted. The growth from impeachment as far as the public goes is also gonna grow. So yeah, that's what's going on with that. Now, I wanted to show you guys the cards. The last thing I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna keep it super short because I'm not trying to have like a 3-hour reading up in here. But I pulled 5 cards, jumped out, and I used the Santa Muerta deck because obviously she is holy death, so I wanted to use ask her for assistance, because she is the one that rules these transitions of death. And having so much Pluto energy highlighted for this, I'm just gonna use Santa Muerte. So the first card that popped out is La Rueda, which is the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, and this is also her gold version, if you notice that. So the Wheel of Fortune, the wheel is definitely moving, but the wheel doesn't always move in the right direction. If you actually look at the wheel that's happening here, you see how there's 3 different things going on, and where the possibilities of where you can go by going on this wheel. You can be successful, or you can be thrown to the flames. It is really up to what is going on. So the wheel is turning, and we have the next card that we have is the Four of Swords, which is preparación y espera. This is waiting and being prepared. So to an extent, as the wheel turns, he feels like he might be ready to take on what comes. He might feel like he has the legal framework to take on what comes, or fight it in some capacity, or like have his receipts ready to some capacity. But I kind of feel like he's kind of, this feels like to me like in the movies when they're just waiting like for the assassin to show up, and then the assassin shows up, and then it's like, I knew you were coming one day, and then boom, dead. Like, it feels kind of like that. Like, you know, this wheel is turning, you know that things are changing, you know you're not gonna be able to stop this process, there's nothing you can do to change this process. You're just gonna have to go with the motions of the thing right now, and it doesn't feel good. It's very irritated. As far as the swords go, there's a lot of mental mental kind of, almost like a war going on in his head specifically, because it's like, especially as a Gemini, you just go through so many thoughts, and you go through kind of wanting to change people's perspective and opinions of who you are and what you actually stand for and what you believe in. It's just like, there's nothing he can do. He's waiting with all these swords, all his receipts, like waiting for this cloud to clear up by the sun. But is it going to clear up by the sun? The next one that we have is El Juicio. Juicio. I'm like talking English and Spanish at the same time. This is the Judgment card, and is the Judgment card. So this specifically starts kind of, not only, you guys know that the Judgment card to me is also the Ancestor card. But in this case, there is judgment being had, because there's a decision that is being made that with this time that has now passed, okay, will dictate a decision, an outcome, an opinion, a solidifying dot on what is happening, what our country's gonna look like, who's taking over, whatever XYZ. That's what this is, okay? So when you have Judgment energy, is very interesting, because it's like a moment of everything is out of your hands, and yeah, you waited, but now this is the judgment time. This is time to really meet your maker and really answer to the crimes that you have committed. This is the time where everybody will look at you, and again, it goes hand in hand with what's happening astrologically for him. In the next couple of months, it just goes hand in hand. So the last two cards are the Five of Wands, which is Discusión y Competir, which is, as you guys know, this is one of the fighting cards in tarot. Okay, and then the last card that we have is El Otro Mundo. Okay, and this specific deck of Santa Muerte has a couple of extra cards. It's 80 cards instead of 78, if I'm not mistaken. So they add a couple more spiritual cards, just to kind of change the way the world works, and having other worlds and other realms there. So just explaining that a little bit. But as far as like what is happening here, you have the Five of Wands, which means that, again, there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of squares happening in all over. His transits is just like squaring off. Every month there's just a square, there's a fight, every day there's something else in the news, there's something else that was said, there's something else that was tweeted. That like, at this point, I feel like Twitter should get a Nobel Prize for letting him keep his Twitter, because he's gonna impeach himself through it at this point. That was sarcasm. Twitter deserves nothing. Don't give Twitter nothing, okay? Anyway, so there is a lot of conflict. There's a lot of kind of wanting to be seen a certain way. There's wanting to win too. Like, he really wants to be exonerated. That's the whole thing that happened with the whole Mueller thing. He wants to win. He wants to not be seen as a horrible person, a horrible president. He wants to be beloved, obviously. So, but there's just still so much conflict in association to his presidency that it's just not gonna happen, especially with what's happening with the Judgment card. It's just not. What comes after Judgment is going to create a lot of it's going to create conflict. Like, I feel like people, especially people who are part of his cult, specifically are going to be feel very, you know, upset, because when you're a stan, you're a stan. But at the same time, he gotta go. Point blank, period. He gotta go. The El Otro Mundo, which is the other world translated, this is actually the card of spiritual assistance in this deck specifically. It is the sign of getting help, not only getting messages from like a medium or like a spiritual leader and stuff like that, but it's also getting spiritual assistance, the other spirits out there assisting as best as they can in this situation, which is good, because this whole reading was I just wanted to check in on the like, just following up on the spell that we did specifically. So the fact that this is the last card that came out as far as spiritual assistance means that not only is our petition that we did was taken into account as far as this whole situation, but it is creating enough change and enough conflict, because that's something that we were trying to do. But it's definitely going to bring about change, and the wheels are turning while he waits for judgment. Okay? But on the spiritual level, we have that spiritual help and assistance with us. There is that spiritual army, even though you don't see it, that is assisting us at this time. And while people in power are very much harder to reach when it comes to like spell work, because they do their own protection stuff too, it's still, this has been a collective effort. There's a lot of people that, even in your mind, if you think that he did something wrong and you think that he should be impeached, you're setting the intention for that. You just don't know that. So it's still a collective issue. And it's something that once people continue to get more information about it, there will come to. But with this card, if you also look at it, this is La Negra, okay? La Negra is really good for removing negativity, negative energy, hex breaking, okay? So the fact that we're getting assistance from her specifically, like, hey, we need to remove this, is actually also very good. There's a lot of positive energy here. We also have La Blanca here as well. So there's a lot of positive energy here. There's a lot of not like for the rest of humanity, not for him. He's definitely getting wrecked from all spectrums. If you still want to do the impeachment spell, by all means you can do it. Make sure it is under a Libra moon. There's going to be one very soon, because there's about to be a new moon in Scorpio on Monday, so you can definitely do it this weekend if you would like to. Feel free. Saturday would probably be the best day, but you could still do it. You could also do it during Scorpio season as well, because he's getting wrecked by Pluto. So you want to capitalize on Scorpio energy, you want to capitalize on Libra energy, you want to capitalize on Capricorn energies. You can also do the spell on a Capricorn moon or some sort. It's a really good time to use astrology to work your magic in regards to setting an intention of what this government needs to do and what it needs to focus on and what it needs to get rid of. And okay, so that's what we're working on. So yeah, so I just wanted to do this update so I can know what's going on a little bit on the Astro side and the tarot side, and also just with the spell, so you guys know how it went down. It was definitely a really powerful spell, lots of fire. It burns down really fast. As far as like the tray goes, if you actually go see the impeachment spell, it's in my channel. If you actually go see it, you will see the like how big it was, the amount of candles that were on there, and it burned down really quickly. Like, it's something that's coming to pass very quickly, and it's just, everything has been developing so quickly that I'm just like, I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it. So definitely, if you still want to do the spell, definitely check out the impeachment video. That was a fun video to make. It's a very complicated spell. If you don't have all of the ingredients, it's fine. Use what you have, but at least if you can find some chicory or some marigold, you need to use one of the two herbs, just because it's really good for legal matters and resolving legal issues. So at least use those. yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you on the next one. I have more videos coming, and yeah, don't forget to check out the Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell so you always know when I'm posting, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.